Well, greetings from the inside of the Ashtoons camper, everyone, on this beautiful Tuesday night, February the 1st, 2022. 8:30 at night, I'm out here in the north end of Florida, and there's the Dashel right there, up in his hammock. Yeah, he's doing just fine. But it's kind of a quiet day off. I didn't really have anything to go out and do, but I thought it was about time to give you guys a little something that I haven't done in a long time, a little talking video. And as you can see, the memory wall is completely cleaned off. So it is now ready for the beginning of another year, another season of fairs and festivals, and so it's going to fill up with all the ticket stubs and receipts and postcards and whatever other little mementos I decide to stick up there, and then Dashel decides to tear down, and then I snatch them from him and put them back up. So we got another full year of that coming up, and I'm thinking this year, with the channel being bigger than it's ever been, getting close to 2,000 subscribers, my view count per video higher than it normally is for a long time, and some people actually sounding interested in coming out and seeing me at my fairs and festivals. So at this point, I'm thinking it might be a good thing for me to put this out there to make the people that are coming to see me aware of before you get there. And that is that I am not what most people would consider atypical or normal, at least not in the categories of social awareness and social instincts. Yeah, to a lot of people's first impressions, if you don't know me, I might come across as cold, standoffish, and some might even say rude. But please understand, it's not on purpose, and I'm doing my best to try to seem as normal as possible. But hey, as you can tell, if I was atypical, normal, able to get along with everyone and have social instincts and be able to read body language 100% vibe, like most atypical people would consider just normal, I would probably be out there doing an office job, doing a real job. But just as, you know, my path in life has taken me off to the fringes, so are my other... you know what? Let me just put it to you like this. My best friend has told me many times and that she believes I am autistic. And I've resisted the idea, but I looked into it a little bit, and I've written down 10 actually very valid reasons for why she believes I'm autistic. And I don't want to believe it, but here's the evidence right here. And so there's a small chance here that I might actually be what would be considered a high-functioning autistic. And so, yeah, I'm going to just stop rambling, and let's just get into these ideas. And at the end, guys, I want to hear your opinion down in the comments. What do you think? Am I high-functioning autistic, or am I just overreacting to just regular human quirkiness? What do you think? Okay, first off, I have never totally understood the idea of teasing, or what some people would say, good-natured ribbing, or yanking your chain, or just kidding around, I'm just playing with you. I've never understood it. It does not make a whole lot of sense to me. I've understood it in some forms, but most of the time, the idea that I like you, therefore I'm going to insult you, just is very wrong. That's very wrong. That's like saying I don't want you to be in pain, therefore I'm going to punch you. I don't get it. Happy smile, sad frown. Like compliments, do not like insult. The idea of like person, so therefore insult person, doesn't make any sense to me. That's a social instinct that a lot of people have. Oh, me and my friends tease each other all the time. Oh, me and my friends pull pranks on each other and do mean stuff to each other just for the laughs all the time. I don't understand that. And I've said it before on this channel. It was years ago when I said it, But yeah, if that's your idea of friendship, is giving somebody a hard time, then don't be my friend. So that's number one. Now, that feeds into the next one, and that is that a lot of times when you get teased a lot at, your school or your work or your church or your youth group or whatever, and you're just like, stop it, stop it, stop it. And sometimes they'll actually come back and say, well, we want you to join in. We want you to fire back. We want you to loosen up and fire back and, tease us back. And so when somebody like me actually tries to do that, there is a backlash. And that is from something called the imposter, right? Because when atypical people tease each other, they are able to do it at just the right inflection, just the right tone, just the right tilt, to actually let the person that's being teased know that I'm not serious, this is just a joke, I don't really mean this. But by the time somebody like me actually decides to fire back, by that point, we really are aggravated, and we really do mean it. And we are angry. And so we start to fire back, and that fire back actually comes across as very genuine and not teasing. And so this idea that I'm going to take this quiet person that doesn't understand teasing and just jab at them and try to get them to loosen up and tease me back, and then when they do tease me back, then all hell breaks loose, and they get in trouble, and they lose friends, and they do all this. It just kind of reinforces this idea that the idea of teasing because I like you just doesn't make sense. So that's number one. And that's one that has, it separates me from a lot of what can be considered as atypical friendships. Can't hardly understand them. Don't get them. Have a hard time making friends that way. So that kind of feeds in a little bit to the next one, and that is I have a hard time reading body language. Now, I'm not completely inept at this. I do get some of it. But what a lot of you normal atypical people see is just easy, and you don't even realize you're doing it because it's a flow that just so easily happens for you. And I'm talking about if you're talking face-to-face with someone and you're picking up on every inflection, every tilt of the head, every twitch of the eyebrow, every shoulder movement, every hand position, every lean in, lean out, all of that is, you don't even have to think about it. For most of you, it just comes in and it flows in like a stream of data easily as part of the conversation, and you're just processing it, and it's no problem at all to you. Well, for somebody like me, that's not easy. It's actually kind of hard. Maybe 20% of what you get, I get. I have a hard time telling when someone is aggravated and wants me to shut up, or if they just want me to listen, or if they're trying to motivate me to help them do something, or if they're trying to suggest something, or if they are just wanting me to listen. I can't tell. I can't tell when somebody likes me or somebody dislikes me. All of this stuff, a lot of it it just goes right past. And I don't, totally understand why most people aren't a little more open and plain and just say, instead of trying to use subtext and hints and all kinds of stuff. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me why people just don't come right out and say what they mean instead of doing all these, what I feel like are just games. Now, for you guys, it's just instinct, and it's just a nuance and a way of communication. But for me, it just really feels like a very stressful game to try to pick up on this stuff, and I'm just not getting it. I'm just not. And it's frustrating. It can be very frustrating. So yeah, that's something else, guys, that when you're not able to pick up on stuff like that, it makes social interactions kind of, it makes you very awkward, and you're always just kind of on edge. Like, what am I not getting? What am I not getting? What am I not getting? And you're always second guessing yourself. And some would call that social anxiety. I wouldn't say that I have social anxiety, but I'm definitely on edge. It's not as serious as, like, I need to take pills and this is awful, but but I'm definitely on edge because of this. All right, going on to the next one is I am dyslexic. I was diagnosed almost severe case dyslexic at 8 years old. And I was not even aware that a lot of high-functioning autistic people were also dyslexic. Wasn't even aware of that until, like, my best friend, like I said, pointed it out to me. I just thought I had a learning disability that made it hard for me to get through school, and it did, let me tell you. Now, a little misunderstanding about dyslexia, and I can kind of understand when people say this because it was passed around for a long time. They'll say, doesn't that just mean that you see words backwards? Well, no. If it was that simple, then couldn't I just start at the opposite side of the word and then just follow along and read at a normal speed? No. Dyslexia is more of a quirk in the way that you mentally visualize things. So for most normal people, if you were to ask them to visualize something, they're going to see it like in a 2D image with a little bit of color, and that's about it. They're not going to render it out in full detail and full 3D, spend all the energy doing that when it's not totally necessary. But for a dyslexic person, it's like a compulsion to fully render everything out in full 3D, in as much detail as possible, in full color, and not just at one angle. You're also thinking about the way this is going to look at a different angle. And so you're kind of whirling around it. So when you have a mind that thinks like this, and then you try to take little 2D black letters in a line, focus on them, translate those letters into sounds, those sounds into words, while taking account for all the weird, inconsistent phonics rules. Those words into sentences, the sentences into meanings that can be translated into an image, and then try to fully render out that image, and then go on to the next sentence and continue the process at a speed as fast as you can speak. And some would say you're not reading really all that fast unless you can read faster than you can speak. And it just seems like a task that's a little bit unreasonable to ask. Because as we're trying to read this and keep it straight, and that 3D rendering, visualizing is swirling there, the letters start getting mixed into the 3D image, and they start moving and swirling, and especially letters that look similar, like B's and D's, Q's and P's, things like that, they start switching around. And yeah, it's like it just starts getting muddled and strained and confused, and it doesn't take long. For a dyslexic person, it's just not fun to read. It's a strain, right? And so, yeah, a dyslexic person doesn't read for fun. Dyslexic person only reads whenever they are told to. They have to when it's required. And that's about it. Now, this has made, for me at least, this ability has made it where I can design things and be a good storyteller and a good artist, but it makes reading very difficult, and reading is fundamental to just about every other part of life, modern life. So it's, anyway, so why am I going on? On a positive note, technology seems to be improving a lot in this front. And it's gotten to the point now where you can download like free apps that you can just take a picture of a page, isolate out the paragraph, and then just push a button and it'll read it audibly to you. Whew, I really wish there was something like that whenever I was going through school. But anyway, okay, so yes, I am dyslexic, and that's a little bit more of a better description of what dyslexia is. And there are some positives to it, like I said. Next, disproportionate skills. Now you see this one a little more pronounced in people that are extremely autistic. Some of them that are completely inaudible, but yet they're able to do complex math problems in their head that most people wouldn't even be able to do on paper. or they can play a musical number that they've only ever heard one time, or what a lot of people would consider savants. That is a disproportionate skill, where you don't have a balance of abilities across the board. You are just really, really deficient in this area over here, but you make up for it by being naturally really good in a different area. In my case, I was always incredibly terrible at anything that had to do with reading and spelling. But if it had to do something with reading blueprints, or building, or creative writing, or artwork, or anything along those lines, I was like right there in my element with those, and I could just really excel. Unfortunately, a lot of things that I were good at were not things that got you good grades. I knew I was good at some things, but they weren't things that translated into good grades. Unfortunately. It seemed a little unfair that they would place so much importance on the parts of the things that I was never going to be good at. But hey, that's just the way it goes. Alright, next one is always feeling out of place. And some people would call this the wrong planet syndrome. And I remember saying that a lot growing up, especially when I was struggling my way through school. I would say, I know that I can be smart in some areas, but there are areas that nobody cares about. It really feels like I was dropped on the wrong planet. Or it's sometimes just dropped in the wrong time period. Or just something went wrong. Something was misfiled. And I'm just in the wrong place. That's just called the wrong planet syndrome. And a lot of autistic people have that feeling, that constant feeling that they were dropped on the wrong planet. Totally relate to that. I totally have that. The next one is, I've never understood the need to constantly greet or validate total strangers. I don't get it. And by that, I'm talking mostly about these businesses that ask the cashiers to greet people like within 10 seconds of them walking through the door. Welcome to Moe's. That's a good example. Or, hey, welcome to Quick Trip. Yeah, I don't get it. But there's so many businesses that do this that they had to have done their market research and realize that like their sales go up, or something improves whenever they do this, because there's so many of them. I guess there must be a crap ton of people that actually like this, that actually think that cashier is genuine and actually happy to see them. Like, they really think that cashier is not just told to do that and they don't care? I mean, it's so ingenuine. I don't get it. Just because I'm coming into a business to buy something, why would I need to be subjected to talking to a total stranger within 10 seconds of walking through the door and that be considered a good thing? Does everybody out there just so walking around so insecure that they need to be validated by total strangers all the time, and that actually improves their loyalty to a business? I don't get it. And anytime that I say anything about this, like I'll say to the cashier, I'm sorry they make you say that to everyone, they'll actually defend it. Well, it's not that bad. It's just a, hey, how you doing? And people like it. And I talk to, somebody else that's walked through the door and like, yeah, they have to do that, every single person. They're like, oh yeah, I know, isn't it great? No, it is not great. It is annoying. It's unnecessary. I don't like it. But yeah, apparently that is also something that is consistent with being autistic, to not understand things like this. Alright, number 9. So we are getting close to the end. Number 9 is, I have never cared for big crowds. I have never understood the appeal of why people gather themselves into big crowds as a matter of course, and said that was part of a fun day. This goes back to my inability to read body language. So it's no longer just the strain of trying to figure out all the nuances of one person, or even 3 people at the table, but now it's a crushing, moving crowd and there's all the different tones and the different twitches and the different facial expressions kind of looking over at me, moving all around me. And I'm trying my best to try to not make anybody mad and try not to cut people off and try to figure out what's going on here. There's somebody behind me. I can't see what's going on back there. And it all becomes an overload, a strained overload of information that just doesn't translate easily for me. After a while, it's like, if you can imagine standing next to a power relay with the current going through it so strong that you can hear the power humming, like zzz, that's what it's like in here after a while, being in a big crowd. It's not fun. It's not fun. I mean, there's a few exceptions to this. If it's like my church family, they know me a little bit, I can take a little bit of a big crowd. Or if I'm at like a comic book convention or a video game convention, and there's that camaraderie there, we're all in this together, and there's a little more of a focus, and we're going to this panel over here and this whatever. That can be fun sometimes. I can kind of understand that, but yeah, for the most part, if I'm in a crushing, moving theme park crowd or a big shopping mall or somewhere like that, yeah, it's not fun. I don't like it. I know I'm not alone in this one, but apparently that is something that goes along with being autistic a lot, is not liking the big crowds. All right, number 10, the last one. Loud noises mostly only make me angry. And I try to be understanding because I understand for a lot of normal people, the idea of loud, sharp noises can be part of a celebration. It can be part of exuberance. For example, like when somebody guns a muscle car, or they show off a car stereo and they've got the windows going, let's see how loud it can get. Or they're yelling, whoa, because their team just scored a point. Or the sound of sirens and horns and everything at a parade. And that's part of the celebration, I kind of get it. I understand it. But that sensory, like loud sharpness hitting me in the ears, it doesn't matter that it's coming from celebration. It matters that it's hitting. And most of the time, my reaction is anger. And I do my best to just let it go because I understand where it's coming from. It's not coming from somebody trying to make me angry. It's coming from celebration. But yeah, for the most part, I'm trying to let it go, and sometimes I have to just cover my ears. But I understand that that sensory overload that I'm having is also something that is a very autistic thing. All right, so that is all 10 right there, guys. And these were the things I wanted to make y'all aware of before you come out to meet my weird self at any one of my fairs and festivals. So you know a little bit more what to expect. And don't forget, I want to hear from you. I want to know your opinions. Please write something down in the comments. I will read everything. What do you think? Am I high-functioning autistic, or is this just a bit of quirkiness on my part? Do you have any family members that are diagnosed high-functioning autistic? Do you see some similarities here? What do you think? I really, really do want to know. So please, also thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, I look forward to seeing you in the next one.